Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday. It feels like Thursday or Friday, but it's Tuesday. And there is a lively chat going on right now in the live stream on Rumble. Guys, if you didn't know, you can see the show on X. You can see the show on Rumble. You can see the show on Getter. Live streaming. You can also see it later on if you want to and listen to it as well on Spotify. There's video there. All kinds of other podcasting platforms. But there's a lively sports chat going on between folks, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. One of the best things, and I'm going to make him blush, but that's okay. One of the best things about the new show is that my husband has started watching it every day, and it feels cool to know that he's downstairs watching the show as I'm doing it, so why not call him out? Yes, there is a press conference going on for the Mets right now, CJP. Let's see who's in the chat today. We've got Smith here. We have Will. We have CJP. We've got who else? Tom is here, and David's here, and Mr. Rovember's here. Hi, how you doing? There's tons of conversation. Great stuff. Great stuff going on. There's more. Gigi's here. Molly's here. Okay, title of the show today is Lawfare. Hit the thumbs up, share it out with your friends, get it to everybody that you know, and quickly. We have a lot to discuss today. But it wouldn't be good if I didn't start with some fun. Okay, so I came across this today, actually, right before the show started. And I'm going to play it for you, and you guys just listen to it. And then you tell me what you think. Here.
My wife is neurodivergent.
Understand.
I just told her, me, a neurotypical, when I go to sleep, my brain it powers down right along with my body, and I sleep. And she said, but what's going on in your brain? And I'm like, nothing. It's like creating the dream state, or it's completely dormant. It's not doing anything.
Nothing?
Nothing. And then she said, the best I can get is...
Like, that's it. Like, if I'm not worrying about something, it's just noise. You don't just have noise in your brain?
No, I'll have...
What about the narrator?
The narrator, right.
Or the one that tells you to go check the oven and the door.
Okay.
Did you unplug that thing that might catch fire in the middle of the night?
Of course,
and you lose everything.
Neither of us had any idea that she was neurodivergent when we met. We got married, and we only found out later that
I don't know why we have to give that a label. I constantly have a narrator in my head. Does that mean that I'm neurodivergent? Or am I just normal? Or am I just a woman? I have all kinds of conversation going on. That's why it blows my mind whenever I see people saying they don't have an internal monologue. Like they don't hear words in their head all day long. I don't even know what it means. You know what? That's a good question, Jen. Let's see. What does neurodivergent mean? People whose brain differences affect how their brains work. It's a non-medical term that describes people whose brains develop or work differently from most people. Okay, but I don't think that that's true. I don't think that that's true because I think all of us think this way, and he's the one who's weird. Like, how many of you guys don't have your brain going at nighttime? I don't know. I do. But I just found that interesting because I'm like, what does this mean about me? Like, I'm constantly thinking. There's that. The other thing I wanted to bring to you is pretty freaking funny, okay? This is a story that I've been, like, watching out of the corner of my eye for a couple weeks now, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while, at least the last week, at least. This woman named Ona Robinson went over, she supposedly connected with this 19-year-old Pakistani guy. And like, she thought she married him. And she lived in New York, and she went overseas to Pakistan to meet up with this dude. And she got there, and the parents were like, no, you're not coming in here. And she became this like social media sensation in Pakistan, and like had like media all over the place. You're going to see it in a second. I'm going to show you a clip. It's absolutely insane. So this guy here, his name is No Filter with Zach on Instagram. He did a video summarizing what happened with this story. But truthfully, it sounds like he's like exaggerating or like mocking this or whatever, but this is literally what has happened with this story. And I want you to see it because it'll give you a chuckle. It's almost unbelievable. It'll give you a chuckle, and then we're going to get into legal stuff. And so I figure, you know what, let's get this stuff out of the way early, get people kind of, this really, the way he tells this story right now is really the way it happened here. Okay.
About the lady in Pakistan, so I'm going to break it down for you, okay? Her name is Ona Robinson. She's from New York. She met this boy, 19 years old, online, and then she claims that they're married, and they got married in Utah via the online. But so like you do when you're a wife with a husband, you go check up on him. So she went to Pakistan to go see her husband, right? Like a good wife. Shows up, and he's like, hold on, wait a minute. This is not what you look like online. You catfished me. And she's like, no, I didn't. And then his family was like, oh, no, you didn't. You're not seeing our son. And so she's like, watch me. So she camps outside of their home, and she's just chilling there. And then obviously she gets the local press, and the family wants no part of this. So they flee Pakistan. They just pick up and leave. She's there with all the people of Pakistan, and then they fall in love with her. And she decides, she makes it her mission to make Pakistan great again. And so she's like the Donald Trump of Pakistan, and she's doing all these press conferences, and she does press conferences with Mr. Chippa. And Mr. Chippa, nobody really knows who Mr. Chippa is, but he's like not part of the government, but whatever. He's there, and she does conferences, and she doesn't like when Mr. Chippa talks too much, all right? And she's like, stop talking. She's like, you talk too much. And Mr. Chippa's like, okay, sister, okay.
Listen! You talk too much.
And she tells Mr. Chippa, don't you sister me. I'm not Tia or Tamara. Then we have Shabana.
Shabana. You want to go back?
And Shabana, she says Shabana's on her team, and Shabana's the lady of Pakistan that takes care of her. Only to find out, Shabana is the police, and she's literally her police escort. And so Shabana has to take her to the loony bin. Doing her nails, they're doing her hair, they're feeding her McDonald's extra salt because that's how she likes it. And so she's just made it her mission. She's telling the U.S., she's like, I need $100K for real estate so that I can make Pakistan great again. And $20K I'm going to keep for me. Give me that cash. I'm going to put it in my pocket. And all these people, $50K. $50K every 2 weeks. Pay them. And you're probably wondering, what is the U.S. doing about all this? So they keep sending her flights because they're like, oh my God, you're embarrassing us. Get on a flight and come home. And so they keep sending her flights, and she won't get on the flight. She does not want to go home. She says she's Pakistani now. She's from Pakistan now. And people are like, were you born here? And she's like, no, but I'm from here now. And then she goes around the town like she's Bob the Builder, and she's critiquing hotels. And then if the hotel pisses her off, then she's like, you know what? I'm not saving your hotel anymore. Tear it down. Tear it down. And then she tells all the cameras, this hotel, they steal people's money. And then the hotel's like, who are you? And Shabana is tired. Like, you can just tell Shabana has had it up to here with Onaja.
Would you like to speak, Shabana? Okay.
And at this point, they finally convinced her to get on the plane. So they escort her to the airport and put her on the plane. And I guess somehow she never made it back to New York. She's now in Dubai. But now that she's in Dubai, people are like worried because she doesn't have a Mr. Chippa, she doesn't have a husband, and she doesn't have Shabana. Shabana needs to get on a flight and go save her. So I break it all down on the podcast.
This is legit the story. It's not even a joke. Like, this is literally what happened. This girl went over there. What? There's all kinds of clips of her. Like, somebody did a top 10 most iconic American woman in Pakistan moments. It's legitimate. It's so unbelievable that it's comical. Here.
They are calling your husband.
Where's my husband?
Look at all the microphones. Hold on. Look at all the microphones on the table.
Husband is coming. My dear American sister.
I'm from Pakistan. Respect to the law.
Okay.
Respect for the law.
Okay.
Respect to halal. and
Okay.
respect to God. Do you hear me? We're gonna have our baby in Dubai.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan.
You are not from Pakistan.
Yes, I
You born in Pakistan?
am. No, but I'm from here.
I'm already married. We don't have kids yet. We married in Utah.
What is even happening? She's all over the media. She's just, in my opinion, this lunatic woman who's in Dubai now. Like, what? It's so crazy. If you haven't read about Onijah, she's all over the media. Like, she's literally all over the media. So if you need a break and you want to laugh and you want to relax and you want to, like, look at an unbelievable thing that's going on that nobody could quite comprehend, you just go look up Onijah Robinson. Just do that. And now that that's over with, let's get serious. The family literally left their own, they fled to get away from her. She went there, stalked this family. The family was like, we have to get out of here. And they fled. They ran away from their own home. And she became some, like, media superstar. It's really nuts. I don't know why I find this so interesting, but, like, look it up. Just look it up. It'll be your like de-stress moment to look up Onijah. I promise you, just go on social media, like on Instagram or TikTok or something, and look up Onijah. Look her up. Anyway, last night, something really crazy happened. Now, Nancy Mace is the congresswoman from down in Charleston, South Carolina. And she did a half-hour, 53-minute long presentation on the floor about 4 men who she says have been guilty of rape, trafficking, revenge porn, and a few other things. And one of them was her ex-fiance. And she did it from the floor because she was able to, given her congressional protections, say whatever she wanted to say from the floor. She talked about legislation that she'd introduced to stop these things from happening. But basically, she alleges that she was raped by her ex-fiance. And she has all kinds of photos and videos and everything else of this stuff going on from her ex-fiance's phone. And in this hearing, she says that the Attorney General of South Carolina knew all about this, didn't do anything about it, threatened to arrest her, threatened to charge her, threatened to investigate her. And today, after this whole presentation last night, which being from South Carolina and living here is not outside the realm of possibility, let me tell you, experiencing South Carolina politics firsthand, I said always from getting here and doing this, first place that is more corrupt than New York. Like, New York politically is less corrupt than South Carolina. My hair is tied around itself. It's really something here. And it's a good old boys club, and that's why you can't get Lindsey Graham out of office, and that's why things are so stupid here, and that's why they labeled the Freedom Caucus here as, like, insurrectionists, basically. A lot of shenanigans in South Carolina. So she goes through this whole thing where she like calls these people out. She calls out Alan Wilson, who's the Attorney General here, and today they're all coming out with statements that none of this is true, blah, 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 blah.
Parched earth. So let the bridges I burn this evening light our way forward. As in many areas, God's word has given me wisdom. God's love has shown me the light.
She goes on a 52-minute long tirade exposing She says she has metadata. She says she has proof. She's turned it all over. They're not doing anything about it because these guys are allegedly very powerful businessmen who are connected in the state, who have government contracts. She accuses them of taking photos, of drugging women and then, raping them and videotaping it. It's serious. I listened to the entire thing as it was happening. And so today, for her to come out and do this, if she doesn't have the goods, would be absolutely crazy. But here is the statement from Alan Wilson saying, like, I never even saw any of this, let alone would I be in charge of it if it were if it were happening. That's not my job. I'm definitely for the support of children, blah, blah, blah. This is what she put out on a slide yesterday on the floor. Whoops. Patrick Bryant, Eric Bowman, John Osborne, and Brian Musgrave. She named them and she put their photos up there and she called them predators and she said that they raped people and she did it from the floor of the house so that she had protections to say it without having to worry about them suing her and all kinds of other stuff. Like it's go to her feed, just take a look through what she's doing here. And she says this: since my speech last night, so many calls and texts from women in our district who may be victims, because there are people she says she couldn't identify on the phone of her ex that are victims that she wants to help. But apparently SLED and law enforcement in South Carolina doesn't want to do anything about it.
Floor. We have 2 votes. And then at 7 p.m. tonight, I give my speech. It's a speech that I wish my younger self could have heard. Truth brings peace, even in all of its brutality.
I really liked her presentation, the way she did it and the things she said. I thought it was amazing. However, I am not the biggest fan. I think she can be a little bit showy, and I think that she is kind of going down that road right now. Like, Eric Bowman said in a text to press yesterday, my claims are baseless and repugnant. Eric, what is repugnant is that you knew that these were children, there were children in the home at the time of the rape, and you orchestrated it anyway. Here's one of his mugshots for those taking notes. Like, it's serious. It's serious. So I'm going to be watching this. I don't doubt for a second that they threatened her with arrest or investigation. That's how they get you to shut up. I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt that, Myrtle Beach and that area and the coastline here is a very high area for trafficking because of how transient it is, people coming in and out all the time and things like that. And there's always been complaints about that and nobody doing anything about it because, again, the corruption is here and in full effect. Molly's asking, who did she give the info to? She never says. She says she's directly in contact with the Attorney General's office, but she never says, like, who she gave the information to or any of that. So she apparently has it. She apparently has all this physical evidence that she apparently, as she says, has handed over to the authorities. And this is what we're dealing with now. And so I just would keep my eye on it, to be truthful. Like, that's what I'd be doing. It's a state crime. And she's got her victim hotline up here for people who are looking to report that they may have been a victim or whatever. And it just, like, watching the whole thing, my mouth did not close, like, was wide open. Somebody in the chat talking about appointments. I think today is Gabbard. Tomorrow morning will be RFK. And then next week is going to be Cash. But don't forget, they also have to do NIH and all that stuff. So there's a lot left to do. moving right along, there was also a hearing reining in the administrative state. It was a hearing to speak to small and medium-sized business owners about what over-regulation is doing to stifle their businesses. And of course, they ask business owners to come in and give a testimony. And I came across this clip. I want to thank the researcher on X for putting this up. Listen to this woman. It's great. Here.
Something similar to what you guys would call here the freedom cities in America. And I have been doing business, obviously, both in Africa as in the US. In the US, in the states of California, Texas, and New York. Mr. Raskin, your words earlier really, really worried me, and I will tell you why. When you say we are here, and we should be here to talk about Mr. Elon Musk and all the unconstitutional things that he's doing, and you said we shouldn't be here to talk about regulation or anything like that, first of all, I want to say, then why did you have me here? As an entrepreneur, my time is valuable. I came here because I thought we were going to talk about the regulatory state and why it matters. So you need to make up your mind on that. And I'm deeply offended by what you said there. And furthermore, I would tell you why I came when I was invited to speak on this. Because right now, everybody in this country, these issues of regulation, overregulation, has been made into a matter of partisanship. Are you from the left or are you from the right? I don't care. Because where I come from, the overregulation causes us to be where we are. My continent, Africa, is the poorest region in the world today because it happens to be the most overregulated region in the world. So if you don't see the value of overregulation, if you need and want to wait until this country becomes like most African countries, I don't know. I love this country and I don't want to see it go down there. So, and also, just so you know, what does overregulation mean for regular people? It means death, literally. People are packing themselves into little fishermen's boats, trying to leave nations that are overregulated, therefore no jobs, and then they have to leave and go seek jobs some else place.
So basically what she's saying is people are fleeing overregulated countries to come here where there are still ridiculous amounts of regulation. It's a very complicated topic, but I think that we should be following suit with many other countries like Argentina. Every time you make a new regulation, you got to cut 3. That's what we should be doing. All right. Next, we're moving on to what's going on with FEMA. So a couple days ago, they released another payment to New York City to house illegal immigrants inside of hotels. Whole hotels they're taking over. It was several $1 million, a few dozen million. Like, I don't know, 24 million or I forget the amount. It was some ridiculous amount of money. And Matt Van Swoel, who lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and who's been a stalwart to help the people there, shared this clip and said, look, remember, as they're sending all this money to New York City, this is what they're saying to the people in North Carolina.
Have some tents that are canvas tents that have a heating source in them and are designed for cold weather that people are utilizing in some of these areas and utilizing that to provide the support that they need. Have some.
So they're giving them tents, United States citizens who lost everything in the absolutely horrific storm that ripped through, that all of you out there helped raise money to support these people. And today, 4 employees at the DHS were fired for circumventing leadership and unilaterally making the egregious payment for hotels for migrants in New York. And this person here, senior DHS official, the chief financial officer, Mary Comans, was just fired for illegally funding migrant luxury hotels in New York City against the orders of President Trump. Comans is arguably the most powerful person at FEMA, controlling billions in funding. Quote, effective immediately, FEMA is terminating the employment of 4 individuals for circumventing leadership to unilaterally make egregious payments for luxury New York City hotels for migrants. Firings include FEMA's chief financial officer, 2 program analysts, and a grant specialist. There needs to be accountability here, like we talked about yesterday. Everybody wants to see accountability. Losing their jobs, that's absolutely fantastic. But what we're starting to see here is, yes, a constitutional crisis. The constitutional crisis is not coming from the Trump administration. The constitutional crisis is coming from the lawfare, hence the title of the show, that the left is beginning to wage against the Trump administration. Lawfare, I might add, that is not going to work and seemingly isn't going to stop much of what's going on either, because it doesn't appear to me from what I've reviewed, and I'm going to give you resources so that you can go and review the stuff for yourself as well. It doesn't appear to me that any of these cases, or like many of the things that judges are issuing these absolutely unconstitutional temporary restraining orders against, aren't even really actually happening. So leftist activist lawyers are filing these broad-ranging TRO requests, or filing these cases that are overly broad. Judges are granting them because they're stupid, but they don't really apply to much that's going on, because the Trump administration set up DOGE using an already existing framework that Obama put in to try and fix the Obamacare website way back in the day. It was already funded and everything else. And actually, Frank used a graphic from one of the Chans last night on his show that was really funny, but we're going to show it tonight as well. Here's a clip of Scott Jennings talking about this on CNN.
I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law, and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the President of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against
I don't
Trump.
think anybody's in the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it, and the courts say you have to.
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress, not some random federal judge.
There are not repercussions. You get away with it.
I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Yeah. Should the president, the
Biden
singular president,
actually
should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand. The Biden administration understood the checks and balances.
The Supreme Court tried to stop me, but they never will.
Who said that?
This is what everybody's forgetting. Biden was ruled, the Supreme Court ruled his debt relief for student loan borrowers was unconstitutional, and he needed to stop. And he said, yeah, well, I'm not going to. Nobody was hemming and hawing and making faces then.
Who said that? Who said that? Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Joe Biden.
But Donald Trump, he actually didn't ignore it.
He did. Right. They continued to plow forward with student aid.
How much did they spend?
Let me set the record.
He actually got deep.
You know, it's so annoying. Like, it bothers me when people talk over each other like that. There's nothing beneficial that comes from this. Blah, 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 like these women, like Jesus. I'm a woman. Bite your tongue. Bite your tongue. Just stop. You sound like a nag. I don't like it. It gives me anxiety. It really gives me anxiety. Let's finish.
Loan forgiveness policy.
What did he say out loud?
I thought it was a ridiculous policy. I thought it was unconstitutional. I predicted it would get struck down. It did get struck down, and I applauded. He did not ignore it, though. He went and tried under a different law.
So he ignored it.
You're allowed. No, that's not ignoring it.
That's not ignoring it.
He's trying to do it. But let me just understand where you stand. If a district court judge rules in a way that the president dislikes, should the president listen or should the president defy?
If a district court judge tries to usurp the authority of the chief executive of this country, he should absolutely defy it. There's a difference between broad policy decisions and discrete disputes between parties. That's the difference. If I want a policy decided, I'll take it to the Supreme Court.
But what about checks and balances?
So you're saying
What
that...
about checks and balances? What about this is the executive's power. He is the chief executive officer of the United States government. He is the one who you cannot have a judge in some random ass district court in Rhode Island acting as an unelected president, directing the president of the United States how he can and cannot govern. It's absurd. All of these cases are absurd. They all are. There's more. There's more of this cattiness.
That a judge should decide how and when money is spent.
A judge is saying
for years, and not the president of the United States.
Scott, let me explain
You're a governor,
a little bit
you know.
more. Let me explain it a little bit more slowly. A judge is saying
You don't have to talk to me like that.
Congress.
I have a position on this, and you have an opinion. We can disagree.
Yeah, but I'm saying you listen to me because you're not listening, and you're making claims that are not connected to the facts. The judge is saying
maybe you are.
Congress appropriated a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
We need to litigate this.
Okay.
While we litigate this, we're going to put a hold on the actions that you took that might be unconstitutional.
So while we
That's
litigate,
part of the process. Why
this,
can't-
I'm
why
a
doesn't
judge
that
and
work?
I'm in charge of the executive branch, and you're not. Forget it.
No, it's just you can't do it that way. You can't do it that way. You can't. And I just want to show you the way that lawfare works, the way that legal works. This is old, but it demonstrates so clearly the nefarious way that people will this is why I love law so much, believe it or not. She's gonna be taken to the woodshed in a second, and I'm gonna show you Holly is gonna do it, but this is how it works. This is it in a nutshell right here.
Strict scrutiny, and it's a matter of public record that the District of Columbia did not appeal that decision.
Why? Why were they struck down?
Excuse me, Senator?
Why were the restrictions that you defended struck down as discriminatory? Why were they?
Because they did not satisfy.
Why didn't they?
The court concluded that there were restrictions that were not neutral of general applicability.
Yeah. That's legalese. Why didn't they? Why didn't they on the facts? You know the facts. You were a good lawyer. Why'd you lose?
We lost because applying the strict scrutiny test, the court concluded that the restrictions were not narrowly tailored to serve a compelling governmental interest.
Because?
She knows why.
Senator.
Oh, come on, Judge. Don't make me do this. Do you want me to go through it for you? You lost because Mayor Bowser was going to mass protests herself personally with thousands of people celebrating them. By the way, which is fine. We have a First Amendment in the United States. I want to be clear. That is totally fine. You want to protest? Go for it. I think that's totally fine. That wasn't the problem here. At the same time she was doing that, she was prohibiting churches, religious people, from gathering socially distanced outside wearing masks. And the district court said, you can't do that. That's discrimination. You can't separate people out based on their ideological beliefs or their positions. You can't do that, right? Isn't that what the district court said?
The district court said that
do you agree with it?
Could not survive strict scrutiny.
For those reasons, right? Why are you fighting me on this? I can't figure this out.
I am not fighting you, Senator.
So yes, you agree. That's what the district court said.
That was what the district court concluded.
Do you think they got it right? The district court get it right?
The district court, we did not appeal that decision. I think that district court decision is consistent with rulings that we got from the Supreme Court clarifying the application of the...
In other words, she wanted to discriminate. She was defending state governments that were saying to everyday people and churches, you can't have mass. But then George Floyd protests going on all over the place and there was no problem with it. And this judge, the same type of judge we're dealing with in the rest of what we're going to talk about today, is such a commie, in my opinion, that she can't admit it, even though she knows. Just watch her body language. Just watch.
Religious test to COVID-19 restrictions in Tandon and the Brooklyn
Do you think my time's almost expired, and I know other senators want to ask questions, so let me just very quickly here. Do you think it's wrong to discriminate on the basis of religious faith?
Absolutely, Senator.
Why did you argue that religious services, religious people pose a greater risk of infection than people gathered to argue for defunding the police?
I was representing my client. The mayor and consulting epidemiologists had issued orders that she thought were going to protect public health. It was my role to defend those as a
Why did you make that argument? That seems like a strange argument to me, that religious people are somehow, more infectious than folks who have other ideological positions? I don't get it.
My understanding was the nature of singing and other things epidemiologists thought could transmit COVID at a higher rate.
You didn't put any scientific evidence in the record for it?
Senator, those were fast-moving cases, and they weren't going to full briefing and full summary judgment with a record.
That's not what the district court said. The district court said that you engaged in, and your client engaged in, and you defended discrimination on the basis of religious belief, that you offered no scientific evidence for it, that you pressed these arguments over and over and over without any foundation. Frankly, I'm disappointed.
And that is what the legal system is when activist lawyers and judges get involved. It is not based in any real fact. They will just use the courts to keep something going on and on and on and on and on. And that is what they're trying to do here in the Trump administration. The problem is that it's my belief and my observation, and I could be wrong, just to lay that out there. They were ready for this. And it really does appear that they're ready, given the nature of the filings that they're making, the length of them, and the way that they address these arguments. So somebody, in my opinion, and a couple other people share this opinion, somebody in the Trump DOJ was ready to take on whatever came their way when inevitably the rats started getting very angry when funding started being cut for all these programs and people started getting laid off and everything else. One of the biggest problems in the first Trump admin was not being able to get rid of like certain bureaucrats that were unelected and weren't serving the interests of the people. So my go-to for all of this legal that's going on right now is Margot Cleveland. Her handle on X is PROFMJ Cleveland. She's really good. And she has a thread pinned to the top of her X profile that is now documenting all of the legal challenges that are ongoing right now. There's 12 of them on her thread as we speak, with links to the court listener docs so that you can take a look at these for yourself. I recommend that you do that because you can read each and every complaint and what they're alleging, and then you can go down to the very bottom here. You can see it for free, and you can read the decisions that are going on in each one of these cases. But she's also doing updating this stuff as it goes. So head on over there, shoot her a follow. I've been following her since Spygate, like 2017. She was going to do a column for the Federalist back then about the independent people, the people doing the work into the Spygate saga from Twitter at the time, and what the impact they were making was. And so we connected back then. And that comment should be remembered by everybody telling me, by everybody trying to assert that I haven't been around for very long and I haven't been, doing this kind of work for very long, and I don't have any kind of record here. Unbelievable. So, Sharon has linked this in the Rumble chat for everybody so you guys can take a look. But we're going to go through some of them with each other here today. Right now, an hour or so ago, she filed and she tweeted and she said, breaking, Trump administration files a motion to stay in the Rhode Island District Court out of an abundance of caution. So let me explain this real quick. So everybody's like, why doesn't the Supreme Court step in? Okay. There is a very stringent way that this has to happen. You can't just jump up to the Supreme Court. It's not the way it works. So a district court makes a decision. The party that's not happy with it appeals the decision. It goes up to the appellate court. The appellate court makes a decision. Then you can either go to the Supreme Court and ask the Supreme Court to hear it, or you can ask for a rehearing of it with the entire appellate division, not just the 3 judges that heard it originally. And then after that, it can go to the SCOTUS. And then the SCOTUS will decide whether or not to take it up, and they can take it up in an emergency. It goes to the justice in that circuit, depending on who it is. So there's a process. So you can't just jump over that process. So when she says here, she says Trump administration files a motion to stay in Rhode Island District Court out of an abundance of caution, as you have to seek a stay in a lower court before the appellate court, and it sought one, never separately. So in this, she highlights some pieces of this decision where the government, the Trump administration, says, you are totally overstepping your authority here, Judge, because you are getting in the way of of executive office Article 2 function. First, this is the Trump admin. First, this court's orders intrude on defendants' lawful authorities. Although the court's initial TRO, temporary restraining order, acknowledges that agencies could implement funding pauses on the basis of applicable authorizing statutes, regulations, and terms, the order entered earlier today now forecloses agencies from doing so. Thus, agencies are now enjoined from implementing their own statutory authorities and exercising their own discretion wholly apart from the OMB memorandum challenged in this case. So in each one of these cases, there is a specific thing that they're going after. And in some of these cases, they're going after things that aren't even happening. So like, I believe, what is he calling himself now? Hold on. I believe, we put it back. It was Harry Balls or something like that before. I don't remember what he called himself. It's something funny. He tweeted, like, we're not even doing this. We're not even doing this. How can we stop doing something we're not doing? And so we can go through all of these cases. Like 5 minutes ago, she just posted again. Like, there is just no way with everything else on my plate right now I could ever hope to keep track of all of this. So I'm giving my endorsement to Margot Cleveland, and I will cover this stuff as she does using her amazing links and background. Breaking, Court of Appeals just ordered Bellinger to respond to the emergency motion for stay. Motion is before a 2-judge motion panel. In other words, the Court of Appeal is seriously considering staying the reinstatement order, which would mean they're going to rule in favor of what the other judge ruled in this particular case, which is against the Trump administration. So what we have right now is a constitutional crisis. It is a weaponized judiciary of several activist judges in certain locations who are saying we're not going to allow the executive branch to function in this country. We, unelected judges, are going to take matters into our own hands and make rulings that tie the hands of the executive from doing their job. And it seems to me, for the most part, the executive's not listening. They're defying when they have to. And I'm actually okay with that, because we cannot have, this is a co-equal branch of government. Nobody voted for these judges. We voted for a president. We gave him a mandate. There are very, very few Americans right now who are upset with the shutdown of USAID, with the cutting of spending and all this waste, fraud, and abuse that's coming out. Transparency is key. We're getting the transparency. We want this stuff to stop no matter who's doing it. The Democrats are freaking out about this, which blows my mind, because why? As a matter of fact, I think here. Why?
Help me understand this. A 9-year-old is capable of evaluating their own gender to the point where they can make permanent, life-altering decisions about their body and their adult sexuality. That's going to affect them forever. But a 22-year-old engineering genius savant who deciphered ancient Greek in scrolls that were burnt in the destruction of Pompeii when Mount Vesuvius exploded, he's not capable of parsing out and evaluating government spending spreadsheets. I just want to make sure that's where we're at in the discourse. That's what's going on. We have those two thoughts happening in the same time in our head. Just clear that up for me. I just want to make sure.
That, I mean, you can't say it more. This is what they're mad about. It's backwards. It's back-ass words. Now, somebody in the chat actually asked about Missouri v. Biden. And so there's actually an update in Missouri v. Biden as of today. When Trump took office, He filed an executive order barring the government from colluding with social media platforms to censor America's speech. So given that executive order, the parties are both trying to figure out if they need to continue or not. They asked for a stay of 45 days to sort that out as things go on. Like, do we still need this discovery to prove standing, or is the executive order sufficient to prevent any harm ongoing? Now, my opinion on that is that the executive order is not substantial enough to prove ongoing, to satisfy the removal of ongoing harm. Because as soon as a new president comes in who's not Donald Trump or not friendly to civil liberties, they're just going to rescind the EO. Which is why I like the EOs to get things done quickly, but I don't like them because they can just be reversed, which is exactly what Trump did when he came in and what Biden did last time when he came in. So that bothers me. I think, personally, that if the Trump Justice Department wanted to be heroes, they would say, we actually would really like to give you discovery. We'd like to give you everything you're asking for. As a matter of fact, we're going to give you more than what you asked for. Don't tell anyone. Here. If you really wanted to put this to bed, a friendly DOJ that cares about the American people would not fight an ounce of anything that plaintiffs in Missouri v. Biden are asking for. Not one thing. They would graciously hand it all over. Plus more. Oops, we forgot. We didn't give you this the first go round. So sorry. That's what my thought process is. But I don't know what's going to happen there. So let's see how that goes. Moving backwards again real quick, back to the judges, the activist judges. Eli Crane today has filed articles of impeachment, or is drafting articles of impeachment for one of the district judges who made this a decision in one of these things, one of these cases. Partisan judges abusing their positions, threat to democracy. The left has done irreparable harm to this country. President Trump and his team at DOGE are trying to fix it. He says this is obviously judicial overreach. Judge Engelmeyer is attempting to stop White House employees from accessing the very systems that they oversee. Where in the Constitution does it say that a president and his team cannot root out obvious waste, fraud, and abuse? And he's right. I'm going to go into something in a minute about how DOGE was formed, which is a little bit quirky because it's written by someone on a message board, but I just thought it was really funny and true. It's true. It's the way it was formed, and Frank used it on his show and put it up on X. So I'm going to read it for you in a second. But, we have been waiting for some kind of impeachment to go on with a judge for a very long time. And if we have to sit through an impeachment trial of a judge and at least show them we're willing to do this, okay? Then I'm down for it. Like, let's get that guy in there and figure out what in the hell Constitution he's looking at, because there's a clear and obvious crisis here when a judiciary thinks that they can strip the executive of the power enumerated to them in the United States Constitution, a president who was duly elected by more than a majority of the country, by more electoral votes than needed, by the popular vote, and otherwise. Now, DOGE. Here it is. Thank you, Frank. From last night for reference, he says. Anti-DOGE shills and glowies. Be me, says the poster. Lawyer actually reads Trump DOGE executive order, expecting some illegal power grab, but it's all right. Turns out Trump and Musk didn't create shit. Obama did. Obama created the United States Digital Service in 2014. It was meant to fix the Obamacare website after it launched as a flaming pile of DEI crap. Fast forward to 2025, Trump rebrands it DOGE, keeps the acronym, keeps the funding, but gives it a whole new mission, find the receipts. It's legally untouchable because it was already fully funded and operational. Trump invokes 5 U.S.C. 3161, which allows him to create temporary hiring authorities. DOGE teams get embedded inside of every single federal agency. Each team consists of a lawyer, HR rep, Zoomer nerd, and an investigator. They report to DOGE, not the agency they're embedded in. But wait, there's more. Trump invokes 44 U.S.C. Chapter 35, which governs federal IT and cybersecurity oversight. Since USDS was originally an IT oversight body, DOGE now holds full access to all federal data systems. Yes, all of them. Read-only, by the way. Executive order is written to block legal challenges, which includes language that overrides conflicting executive orders every agency to comply. Refusing means they violate the presidential authority. Congress can't defund it because it's not a new program, just a repurposed one. DOJ can't sue for overreach because Trump used existing laws exactly as written. Dems trying to file legal challenges, but they run into standing issues because DOGE operates within existing frameworks. Obama literally built the perfect deep state IT backdoor. Trump and Musk just hacked the system and took the admin controls. Musk now has legal oversight of every major agency's internal systems. The deep state can't stop it without rewriting multiple federal laws. They legally outplayed the system, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Obama created DOGE. All they did was take an Obama creation and repurpose it for what they're doing now. Completely solid, because Obama created it for the opposite reason, which is why I say they were perfectly ready for all of these challenges that are coming out, which is why they're filing 40-page briefs in response to all of the crap that's going on right now. Article. More than 40 lawsuits filed in recent days by state attorneys general, unions, and nonprofits seek to erect a bulwark in the federal courts against President Trump's blitzkrieg of executive actions that have upended much of the federal government and challenged the Constitution's system of checks and balances. Power of the purse is Congress. The executive oversees. Congress just needs to get their butt in gear if they don't like it. Unlike the opening of Mr. Trump's first term in 2017, little significant resistance to his second term has arisen in the streets, the halls of Congress, or within his own Republican Party. For now, at least, lawyers say the judicial branch may be it. The courts really are the front line, says the chief executive of Democracy Forward, which has filed 9 lawsuits and won 4 court orders. The way they say it makes it sound like they're so successful. Just wait. The multi-pronged legal pushback has already yielded quick, if potentially fleeting, results. Judicial orders in 9 federal cases will, for a time, partially bind the administration's hands on its goals. Those include ending automatic citizenship for babies born to undocumented immigrants, transferring transgender female inmates to male-only prisons, potentially exposing the identities of FBI personnel who investigated the January 6th attack on the Capitol, coaxing federal workers to accept deferred resignation under a tight deadline, and freezing as much as $3 trillion in domestic spending. Just stop there. Why is it bad to freeze $3 trillion in domestic spending? It's not. It's not. It's not. And not only that, but there's this.
Tom, where are these leaks coming from?
Well, look, we think it's coming from inside. And we know the first leak of Aurora is under current investigation. We think we identified that person under investigation right now. The California leak, Secretary Noem, she's correct. Some of the information we're receiving tends to lead toward the FBI. But I talked to the Deputy Attorney General all this weekend. They've opened up a criminal investigation, and they have promised that not only this person lose their job and lose their pension, they're going to go to jail. They're going to criminally prosecute. So we're all over it. We got the DHS IG investigating the first one. Have a pretty good idea what happened. Can't share a lot because it's under investigation, but the IG's opened up a criminal investigation on the second one. We're sending a strong message. It's just not, giving the bad guys a heads up so they can escape apprehension. Right, arresting, giving, the Venezuela gang a heads up so we can't arrest them. You're putting officers' lives at risk. It's only a matter of time if we walk into a place where there's going to be a bad guy doesn't care. He's going to be sitting and wait for the officers to show up and ambush him. This is not a game. So DHS and DOJ are connected at hip to hold these people responsible.
What's going on now is rogue law enforcement officials inside of the government are leaking the locations and the times of raids that they're doing to get rid of these criminals from our country. This is who's within. I hope that everybody's waking up to this, who supported the last administration and the administrations before it. This is what has permeated our bureaucracies. People who literally hate this country and all of you. It's absolutely disgusting to think that this is what's going on. Like, you know, they went after Steve Friend, who will be on the show tomorrow, by the way. I have Steve coming on as a guest tomorrow. We're going to do a whole big discussion about what's going on at FBI. They persecuted those guys. They still have not settled that stuff with them. Garrett and Kyle and Steve ruined their lives for speaking out on behalf of the American people, using protected whistleblower channels. It's gross. It really is. In 4 minutes at 3 o'clock, Representative Ana Paulina Luna has a press conference. Now, everybody's been saying on UFO Twitter, where I've been spending lots of time lately, they're all saying that it's going to be some kind of disclosure commission that's going to like supervise disclosure. I don't know what it's going to be, but she's been talking about transparency and what this commission's going to be and all of it. That's in 4 minutes at 3 o'clock p.m. So I'm going to not do a Zoom today just because the show took too long today. But I'm gonna end now so that everybody can go and watch the Ana Paulina Luna hearing or press conference that she's been pumping up for 2, 3, 4, or 5 weeks now. Hopefully it's something that we can all be excited about. And they actually do something. I haven't been disappointed so far this month. So we'll see. If you guys like the podcast, it would be so helpful if you could like it and share it out with your friends. For all of the things that are going on, obviously you can check my social media. And you can listen to this podcast audio only. Go to linktree.com/with Beanz and you can hear it. Looking for one more thing. Nope, that's it. We'll see you guys tomorrow with Steve Friend.